Okay, so welcome to our mic drop on race and culture and coming into contact with services. So the first question that we're going to ask is what kinds of concerns and worries might people from diverse backgrounds have coming into contact with services?
In many cultures, there is a normalization of different types of abuse, not only physical but emotional. And um, I feel like with different cultures, it's the judgment and being called a bad parent. That's one thing, and also being put in a box and feeling discriminated in that sense because it's not because you don't feel like these people from a different culture don't understand what your parenting style is. But I think as well, one major factor is that, for example, I'm from the indigenous community, and there has been a long history of social services just taking children out from their homes and stripping them from their cultures and their cultural identity, and that plays a part as well in the concerns.
So profound. What you're saying is if I'm understanding you right, you're coming from a community where there's a long history of services coming in and removing children, or services coming in. I'm thinking because this goes across, whether it's being detained, whether it's being criminal justice, services experiencing really coercive or punitive experiences, which might really up your anxiety. Is that right?
Yeah, and also a community where there's a history of just like people coming in and taking your children just because they're indigenous children, to civilize them in in a way, you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, that is another fear. Obviously, that history behind social services and authority, that we bring it over with us here, and that trauma then plays up as well when we then have our own contact with social services.
Wow, you're really explicitly pointing to people coming in and removing your children to supposedly civilize them. Thank you. One of the things that we've heard about is that concern that some of your cultural practices might be of the community of your culture of origin might be seen as abuse. And actually, I'm remembering that somebody came into me saying, in my culture of origin, it was quite normal to have violence against women, and that was something I didn't recognize that as abuse until and then suddenly I was kind of feeling like I was critiqued for not recognizing that when actually that I'd been brought up through that, and that had been really normalized. Actually, one of my clients said to me the other day, how do you help me understand that something that I might need help with something without making me feel like it's a weakness on my part?
Going forward with your client is that whatever you've learned when you first meet your client, like it's not a clean slate that you just meet someone for the first time. This might be a blind date even. Just take something real and unreal it. And then first just get to know them. Just say, I want to get to know you. I might know something about you already, but I want to know the real you before I know your circumstance.
I mean, actually, the first things you said was bring a blank slate, be ready to be surprised by that person and get to know them as a person before you get into the problem. And actually, every time, when you get stuck in the problem, reconnect with the person again. When you're getting stuck in the problem, reconnect with the person, because if you just get stuck in the problem, you're going to shut that person down. One of the other things you said was what a difference it made when someone came to you like a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And we are terrified of that word friend in our services. We are terrified of it. We think it's and I suppose what I kind of want to say is, but actually, and that's not to say you don't have boundaries, but there's something about what is, and I'm going to come on to that in a bit, I suppose. So let me ask you that question, guys. We're terrified of that, word friend. So when you say come as a friend, in this situation, say for example, I'm here to help you around your mental distress, I'm here to help you around your kids, or I'm here to what would it mean in that setting? Like, how does it, I wonder if you could give me some examples. Like, I'd love to hear from everybody. What would that look like to come as a friend?
I understand why there is a fear of friends, because you are more comfortable with your friends. There needs to be a line. Like, as someone who has been a part of the service and has been on the other side of the service, who's like, I used to work with homeless teens and young adults, and I think because we were similar in age, they kind of were like, oh, like, what's your Instagram? What's your Facebook? And all this. I was like, I can't give you all of that. Do you know what I mean? So I do get what you're saying. Come with the person as a friend, but I do think boundaries are very important. I just think what it should feel like is it's not like if I say the wrong thing, you're gonna mess up my life. That's what it should feel like. Like, it's not like we need to be buddy buddy, because I'm sorry, that's never gonna happen. But it needs to feel like I am free to speak how I want to speak. I'm able to be open anywhere. If I'm not able to be open out there, then I'm definitely able to be open here more than anywhere.
I know we kind of mentioned the term friends or trying to be friend, but I think really and truly, from the work that I've done with working with young people and families, it's just been human. I think when you are human and you treat the people that you're working with or people that you are in contact with, they are more willing to engage. When you kind of hide behind a book or behind all these laws and these big terms and these big words, you quite often detach yourself away from the person that you're kind of trying to communicate with, you know what I mean? So I think we've got to be very mindful of being human and treating other people like human. I think that's a key word I get from that.
I love that. Yeah, thank you.
Following on from what Deshawn was saying, really, and the thing about friend and kind of like the thing about making a connection with someone, and what Deshawn was saying about kind of like it tapped into something that the family council said, like how they are parents with experience of having worked with services but are now in the family council and are having discussions with social workers in another way, and how they talked about hearing that social workers are not perfect, how that would, if they'd known that before, they might have been able to work with that person a lot better, whereas you see it as someone coming in who's saying, I'm perfect, I have everything in my life together, and I'm here to tell you about all the things you're doing wrong.
Yes.
And
we need to accept. If we're not accepting, we're rejecting, and that's the worst thing we can do to each other as human beings. And I like Deshawn's thing about being human. And I've worked with families. I've been into men prisons, women prisons, and lived with people with mental health. And I've used the services, accessed the services, and I find that I open up more when people, because we initially interact on that vibrational level, that energy level. And so when I meet with someone and their energy is good, I immediately feel good, and I want to open up and I want to share. And over the years, my practice is that when I meet whoever it is, whatever they've done up until that moment, I totally accept them. And I stay in my seat of what I call self-respect, which is peaceful. Because when I'm peaceful, I'm happy. And when I'm happy, I'm able to love. And so the vibration I'm sending out is a loving vibration, an accepting vibration. It's not reject. And from that space, when I'm peaceful and happy and loving, I can set my boundaries. I can be my mother and scold my children. I can give command. I can do whatever it is from that peaceful space. And what the person in front of me will pick up is the love.
Wow.
Thank you.
Cheryl, I really love that. You know, what you said is
Mhm.
like, and that's a really helpful tool for us as professionals, as any of us, to think, you know, like start from your place of self-respect, like that's your home, and then go to a place of going, whatever you have done, I accept. Whatever has happened here, I accept you. Now let's start a conversation. Thank you so much. Because if you are just friends, then actually one of the critical problems with that is that actually you are there to do a job. You're there to perform a function, and that involves having courage. And sometimes that's the courage to tell someone what they don't want to hear. That's going to be hard for you, but you've got to do it. And that's kind of one of the key boundaries that we've got, is like having that knowledge that if you're there to do a job, so you be as human as you like, and be as kind as you like. And the other thing I just want to say that comes from Faith, Liz, and Marilyn, is actually your first encounter with the person is often going to be such an important one for setting that human to human relationship and setting your stall out.